It's the WWJ Industry Connected Podcast, a monthly podcast devoted to the groundwater industry produced by the National Groundwater Association. I'm your host, Mike Price, and today we're joined by Buddy Sebastian of Sebastian & Sons Well Drilling Incorporated in Springport, Michigan, and Stephen Baker and Mars Frederick of Smart Offices, Smart Homes to discuss one of NGWA's newest products, NGWA Business Pro, an innovative app designed to provide water well contractors with an all-in-one business management tool that can be found at ngwabusinesspro.com. Welcome to the 9th episode of the WWJ Industry Connected Podcast, a monthly podcast devoted to the groundwater industry. I'm Mike Price, Senior Editor of the National Groundwater Association's Water Well Journal, and today I'm with Buddy Sebastian, NGWA Board Director and Vice President and General Manager of Sebastian & Sons Well Drilling Incorporated in Springport, Michigan, and Stephen Baker and Mars Frederick of Smart Offices, Smart Homes to discuss one of NGWA's newest products, NGWA Business Pro, an innovative app designed to provide water well contractors with an all-in-one business management tool that can be found at ngwabusinesspro.com. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning.
So NGWA recently hosted a webinar on Business Pro, and we'd like to review and dig deeper into the features of this innovative app. So first, Mars, can we get a review of what all the app does from a business management perspective?
Yeah, so there's the NGWA Business Pro is very all-encompassing for the needs of a water well drilling company. It is purposefully built for water well drilling by people who actually work in the industry. So a lot of times when you work in a specific industry, there's a lot of shoehorning other apps into your purposes, whereas NGWA Business Pro is very specifically and purposefully built for the industry to ensure that a lot of the headaches that you might experience with working with a lot of different types of software aren't an issue for your company. So there's a dashboard where you can view kind of the flow of the entire business. There are service ticket options. There's a place for purchase orders, equipment tracking, which is really big. A lot of businesses, they don't have proper equipment tracking and know exactly what resources are being used for which projects, or a lot of that can get confusing and muddled very quickly if you don't have an organized system to track all of that information. You can invoice, and it integrates with QuickBooks Online, which is great. That's a great platform, and being able to do all of your invoicing and work tracking, equipment tracking and inventory all in one spot makes it a very seamless, friendly user experience that can enhance anybody's business and make sure that they're not losing out on dollars by dealing with software management issues. Business is already complicated enough without having to fight with the tools that you have available to get the job done. So I think this does a really great job of streamlining things and putting the needs of the business first and ensuring that there are no extra complications beyond the normal business complications that everybody goes through. So I think that's
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
The demo review, can you tell us what all that might consist of? There's a free 30-day demo review for interested parties to take part in?
Yeah, so anybody who is interested and wants to try it out, you can get a 30-day demo trial. And I believe it's a sandbox environment. And that gives you the ability to test everything out, see how it would work in your business flow. So you can create invoices, manage work orders, assign things. There are lots of really cool tools, but you'll get the ability to check all of it out thoroughly to see how it would impact.
The whole program,
Yep, the whole program. And so, we've seen a lot of customers come through, try out the demo, and they're just hooked right off the bat. I mean, compared to the way that people have to juggle between softwares and jump in and out of different windows, and the confusion of getting data from one spot to another, they try the demo out and they're generally astounded about how great it is to have everything in one spot and have it work, in a seamless way for their business. It's really great. So the process, once you do the demo, the way that you move forward from there is, there's a meeting that takes place where we start to talk about how we're going to migrate your data from your existing systems into the software. And that we move that data over, and then pretty much you're there and ready to go. We have a support team that's available to help with any questions, to make the transition smooth and easy and, less complicated. That's kind of one of our philosophy sticking points, is let's make it easy. And I think that this certainly does that. So we have really great customer service team. I believe there's even Saturday availability for service calls and things of that nature, because, as I think Buddy can probably attest to, the work doesn't stop on Friday at 5. So we
Yep.
try to make sure we're available and help people out as much as possible.
I was going to mention the Saturday customer service is a really nice feature perk, because that's a
Yeah.
day that some companies are catching up on invoicing. I
Yeah.
imagine.
I mean, during the week, we're drilling wells. We're doing all sorts of stuff. We're out there in the field and we're going wild. Saturday, sometimes we have to play some catch up.
Right.
And
Yeah.
one more addition to that, onboarding, data migration meeting that happens. If you're coming from Well Magic, the program that this whole project spawned from, we built a migration tool. So that portion is more or less automated. So if you're coming from Well Magic, the migration fees are free.
Nice.
Okay, great.
Free is always good.
Free is always good. So yeah, Buddy, how's it been with you using the app thus far?
Well, we've implemented it here at the office, and I'm excited we're going mobile with it, which is the whole reason for this program. I mean, when you were if you are a single user, or like you're the guy that's here, then you're on the rig, and then you're in the service truck, the issues that you would have, or your hands would be tied there, is when you're out in the service truck and all of a sudden you're at address A and you thought you're going to address B, you don't have anything on that. Where NGWA Business Pro, you can look it up mobilely, right from your smartphone or your iPad or whatever smart device that you're using. You can look it up right there. As long as you got, web, internet connection, data, something that you can go by, you can look it up right there, which is a nice feature. And for the larger companies, if the web-based programs are like you said, they kind of shoehorn them. So you might have one for an HVAC company, but it doesn't really work for a well drilling company, because that's great. You can get information on what you built them last month, but what's their well, what's the neighbor's well.
Right.
Whereas NGWA Business Pro, my staff, which we have many, can actually look it up without calling back to the office and tying up the office staff who are answering phone calls or handling invoicing questions, or billing or purchasing or anything like that. They're getting interrupted by the crew. Hang on a minute, we got to look this up. We look up a well log. So that takes time out of their day, and it holds up the crew in the field. So it's just form a working relationship between the office and the crews out in the field. It's going to really free up a lot of time and give them access to information. And the nice thing with Business Pro is that the administrator can turn on and off features. So if you're worried about maybe your crew, you don't want them to know what you're buying stuff for, but you want them to have access to well logs. You want them to have to be able to invoice the customer right then and there. And you want them to have access to the price list. You can turn those features on and off depending on what you want them to do.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Buddy, before we jump into the details of the features of the app with Stephen, I'm curious to get your take on, as the industry, as the industry knows, the top issue is recruiting, training, and retaining employees. Have you given any thought to how this app might be able to help resolve that issue?
Yeah. Okay. Walk into any high school, walk into any college. Kids don't communicate this way.
Yeah.
They communicate this way.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a business and you're operating this way,
Which is
you got
paper
to
for
train
those.
them.
Yep.
Right. To be honest with you, when you bring them in, you got NGWA Business Pro, they're going to pick it up way quicker than somebody like myself.
Mm.
They're going to be using it. Oh, did you know it had this feature? And I'm like, what? You know? And so it to recruit, you're going to be an up-to-date company. So, they don't have to do the paperwork. Everybody's talking about, you see these things, you want to confuse a child, confuse a high schooler, write in cursive.
Yeah.
They don't have to write out a bill. They don't have to write out an invoice. They don't have to do any of that. It's all done here.
Mm.
On a
All
phone.
done here. And the nice thing about it is it's real time. When they do it, within an hour, depending on, the connections, it's here in front of me.
Yeah. Well, and that's another point when it comes to employment specifically, we've all been employed at various points in our lives, and there's a stark difference in the amount of enjoyment you get when you're working at a business that is organized well,
Mm.
pardon the pun with the well, or a business that is organized, poorly. And the thing about this is it's a scaffolding that naturally fits the flow of a water well drilling business, and helps you stay organized and helps things be as smooth and efficient as possible.
And consistent.
Yeah, and consistent. That's a huge thing. So that's great for, your employees because they understand the structure that they're working in. It's great for the customer too because they get consistent, reliable results. And it's great for everybody all around because people are able to keep track of things. They're able to understand the steps in the process. They're able to catalog things efficiently. It's just, it's really great, especially if you're working on paper, going to something like this, it's,
Right.
revolutionary within a business for sure.
Right. I mean, we spend hours, when you think about it, we spend hours getting information from the drill crew to the office staff, then to the install crew, back to the office staff, back to the billing, back to the filing of the well log, back to the filing of the invoice, where, to be honest with you, with this, all that goes away.
Mm.
It all goes away. All we have to do is check a balance. Okay.
Yeah.
The driller can literally fill out the log while he's there, bring it back, we check it, make sure it's good, go out to the install crew, hand them they pull up their smart device. Okay, here's the log. Here's what we've done. They put in their side the installation part of it. It's done. Bring it back, check a balance here before it's sent off to the state agency. Okay, we can check all that.
Man.
And then actually send the state agency and the property owner the document rather than mailing it here, mailing it there,
Okay.
uploading it here,
Right.
or worse yet, with a lot of programs, you would have to, if you did have a program that you could upload your well logs, that's great. But now you got to print it off, scan it in, and then attach it to your invoice to send it. You don't have to do that here.
Great.
So it's just when you talk about attracting employees, imagine having that conversation that I just had with office staff. Okay, we got to take this. You have to mail this here. Oh yeah, by the way, you have to upload it here. Oh, this customer wants us to email, so now you got to scan it in. And you have to attach it to the email. Make sure you rename it before you do it because you'll lose it.
Right.
So and they're writing and taking notes where I can just say, here, it's all on here. Push this. Here's how you do it. And they'll probably say, oh yeah, I can do that. Yeah, bang. Poof, done.
Yeah.
Well, and there's, people have documents that live on their different computers, right? If you're just saving to a computer, nobody else has access to it. All you need is your computer to die, and a crucial part of the business has just died with it. And that's a nightmare that I'm sure everybody's experienced something like that too, where it's just, well, it hurts so bad to have something like that happen, and to have that safeguard of, having things live in a place where you can retrieve it without it relying on somebody's computer, or but also being able to use all of those documents for the work itself. It's just,
Right.
Right.
it's
Yep.
so much better than the way that people, because when you start up your business, it's like you're getting after the work, and administrative stuff kind of comes afterwards. And so there's a lot of messiness that kind of comes about until you reach a step of maturity where you find something like this and implement it. And it saves so much time and hassle and frustration and setbacks and all these.
Peace of mind.
Yeah, peace of mind. That's
Yeah.
another thing too, that, especially business
There's
owners.
one other thing that nobody has mentioned in any of this
Yeah.
that I'll mention. When you have a program like this, you're in business, you're doing well. Now let's go to the other end. I want to get out of business. How attractive is my business to a potential buyer, or maybe even a potential employee or a potential competitor come in and say, look, everything's on Business Pro. It's right here. It's real simple. It's all automated. And I mean, you literally have at your fingertips. I mean, when we migrated my stuff, it was like 19,000 customers or something like that. It was just
Wow.
insane. I didn't even know I had that many. But I have 19,000 organized customers. They're not in a card file. They're not, on paper like this. Here they are.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah,
talk about a flawless transition.
Yeah.
oh my, that's attractive for a prospective buyer.
Mm.
Yeah. So you're going to make your business more valuable,
Mm.
Yeah.
and you're going to bring value. So everybody talks about when you buy a business, how much blue sky are you buying?
Mm.
With NGWA Business Pro, your blue sky is now worth more money.
Mm.
Yeah. And with the cloud-based system, Mars, before we get into the features, Stephen, can you just explain for people how things are backed up to the cloud and it gives that security peace of mind with the data?
Yeah, so that's probably a mix of me and Steven, because I'm a bit of a what's the word? Neanderthal? A
You're
little
a
bit.
user.
That's exact. I'm a user. Steven is, high level. He understands how all the back end stuff works. For me, I'm a user. So I click the button and it saves, and I go, wow, it's all right there.
Yeah.
Which is great though, right? Because a lot of our users, people working in our offices, they're not highly technical, IT or software engineer skill level people. So for me, it's great. I log in, I save something, and it works. And I have a background in sales, and so the ability to log communications really efficiently and easy. That's another huge thing that is great for me. But the experience on the user side is very seamless and quick and easy. So far as how it's actually hosted, I'm gonna have to rely on Steven for that.
Sure. Since we're using QuickBooks Online as our repository for the information for the core stuff, like invoices, estimates, customers, vendors, that is just QuickBooks data. So when you log into Business Pro, it just loads it. It doesn't have to download anything. It just grabs it straight from the QuickBooks website. And then we have our database in our data center, which is backed up. It's got dual redundant internet, dual redundant power. So it's not like just having QuickBooks Desktop and a program like Magic on just one computer. If that computer crashes, there goes the data if you don't have a backup for it. So it adds a lot of peace of mind when you know your data is safe in a place that's accessible with a fast internet connection and won't just crash unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Well, and the dual redundant that you mentioned is great, because to set something like that up in your own business is annoying and takes time and takes extra money, and there's extra resources and extra equipment that you have to purchase. Whereas with NGWA Business Pro, all that is already set up and running. And you don't have to take those steps in your own business and spend those dollars and figure out that sort of technology stuff. It's already done for you and keeps you and your data safe, and makes sure that interruptions are not a thing that happens and if there are interruptions, that you're still safe and that your data is still there and is taken care of. So that's another thing that Stephen mentioned earlier that's just great, is the peace of mind aspect of,
Yeah.
like, let's say that we have paper files and, an act of God happens and our building gets hit by a tornado or something, and those files are flying off in the wind. That's a nightmare scenario. That's a debilitating, business ending scenario, is we don't have any of our records anymore. Whereas with NGWA, it's all saved, off site on the cloud, and is backed up, and has, I think you said the dual battery backup too, even. So there's so many layers of protection that you can have that safe of mind and peace of mind just about, things remaining consistent and being able to be used long term. So it's great. I mean, peace of mind is probably one of the things people pay the most for in life. I buy nice locks for my doors. I've bought those little cameras for my house, all those sorts of things, so I can check in and have peace of mind.
Insurance.
And insurance. Gosh, the insurance industry
That's why it exists.
is humongous.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's priceless in a certain sense to not have to worry about those sorts of things. There's enough stuff to worry about in the day to day without having to worry about if I'm going to get flooded and my files are going to become useless, or my computer is going to short out and I'm going to lose all of my customer data that I've worked, a lifetime to build.
Right.
And, that, especially when it's something about your livelihood, that's a constant stressor and a thing that you just don't have to worry about anymore, which is really great.
Well said. So Stephen, NGWA had a webinar in late August, and you went through some of the features then. We'd like you to do the same now, if you can, please, with some of the important features of the app.
Let me share my screen here.
Okay, great.
Okay, I'm just gonna log in. So I'm on app.ngwabusinesspro.com. You can get to here from the ngwabusinesspro.com, and then just click on the portal login if you have an account.
Okay.
So this is the first screen you'll see. This is the dashboard, so you can see the graph here. This diagram just shows you the proper flow that we intend our users to go from, estimate all the way through to invoicing. You can also, you can feed the service calls into scheduling and maintenance, but everything ends up being invoiced. Then you got your sites by itself, which is a database that just contains all the information for a specific location. What makes that important is a lot of the other programs tie everything to the customer, whereas customers change, but the well never changes. So you want this to remain the same and be able to cycle through various owners. So this is the meat and potatoes of the program. And then you can also see if you're assigned to any jobs for the month. And then you can see a list at the bottom if there are jobs, every job that's available. So as a snapshot, first thing that you get to see when you log in is what's going on with the company.
So let me take a pause there real quick. So I know very little about actually drilling a well, but let's say that I'm, a drill man. I don't know what the title would be, but let's say that I'm logging in here. So if I'm assigned to a job next week, I'm going to see that on my dashboard here. So that's something that, when you talk about the employee experience, knowing what's coming up ahead for me, that's another really cool thing. Seeing the jobs that I'm assigned to, seeing jobs that are upcoming, that's cool for knowing, what's going on and what the flow for my work, week or work month is going to look like. That's super cool too. Big quality of life stuff like that. And it's, Stephen mentioned the well site tracking versus the customer tracking. That's something that when you have a specifically built tool for your industry, those little quality of life things where we're tracking the well site rather than just the customer name. And then I have to go in and manually update, and I have to go knock on the door of a person I've never met to get their information for the well that I already, know about, and tell them, hey, we did your well, blah, 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 all this stuff. These are really, they're small, quality of life things, but all of that wraps up into a big package that is purpose built and makes life a lot easier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also helps so the employees don't have to always constantly check the calendar of the schedule to see what they're assigned to. They just see the whole list right here.
Yeah,
Right.
beautiful.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So yeah, from here, I'm going to show off some of the new features since the Water Well Week last year. One of those is the call center. So when someone calls in, and they have and you have an employee who maybe isn't an estimator or a scheduler, they just answer the call.
Mhm.
They can document it here and then assign it to another user, so they can respond to the call in their own time if they're not
Yeah.
available.
Nice.
So you just choose, it defaults to now for the call, and then you just choose the customer. But if you want to look them up, for example, let's say it's James, but not actually that person, I'll just put that. So if they don't show up, be like, okay, well, they're not one of our customers, so then you can just hit this plus button, and then you can add them right on the spot. And this adds it straight into your QuickBooks account.
Oh, nice.
Close out. I'm gonna do 123 Main Street.
How many people in the Playbox database live at 123 Main Street?
Quite so let's give them a quick little address. So now they exist, and if you go log into QuickBooks right now, you'll see that customer is already there.
That's awesome.
That's great.
So you can see, you can set a call reason, so I'll say estimation, and then I'll assign myself to it. You can even set when you want to follow up, so by tomorrow, at the same time.
Okay. Nice.
So you document that call, and then now I can log in and say, oh, I see something assigned to me, and the status is open, so I'm gonna go ahead and click on it. And then I make the call to the customer, and they say, okay, yeah, we do want an estimate. So I'm going to click new estimate, and then it takes their information, brings it into the new estimate screen. So it saves a lot of automation steps.
Yeah.
Well, a way I could see this working really well is, let's say we've got somebody who answers the phone at the front desk, a secretary or something along those lines. And then we've got, somebody who performs site visits, goes and checks out the site before we actually schedule work and all those sorts of things. If I know that that's the case, I can just open up my call log and it's like, oh, this guy needs a site visit. He wants a new well. And then it sounds like I can just assign that to the person who goes out and does the site visits, an estimator or somebody along those lines in the company, which is.
I want to point out a nice feature that Stephen has just actually done. He has given the same site to two different people. So he's done enough demonstrations.
Yeah, you see
It showed up.
there's a warning.
But so this is kind of cool. So if your office staff gets a call, and just say it's a new office staff, and all of a sudden you get this call, and hey, I'm at 123 Main Street, North Carolina. Now, wait a minute. Buddy used to own that. Now Stephen owns it. What's going on? So, okay, Stephen, I'm glad you called. Did you just buy this house? Oh yeah, I just bought it. And I got your name off the tag downstairs on the tank. So now we know, our office staff, okay, which is a nice feature about keeping sites versus customers. Now we know that we have a new owner that owns this site.
Yeah, good. So yeah, when I save this estimate, it'll prompt me if I want to update the owner of the site to this new owner.
Okay.
I'll hit yes, and then they'll be in that record. And then we can go to that site and we can see the whole owner history. Okay, so now that I'm starting an estimate, you can put it in the scope of work, you can add line items, but if you've created templates, this will save you a ton of time. So I'm going to apply one of the templates I've got. So I'm going to do drilling with abandonment. So you click that, and then it fills in the scope of work that you already had previously saved and all the line items of that template.
Nice.
So you can see these are headings that would show up in the printout of the PDF, and then these are the individual line items. And then down here we have what are called options or contingencies, which would show up on the estimate but doesn't add to the price. So the customer will see what something will cost if they need that thing, like additional bags of grout or maybe even additional drilling fee. Just depends on how you want to structure your estimates.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously you can add more. You can modify that estimate. You can change values on the template, and then you can even save it as a whole new template if you've made enough changes.
Yeah.
So let's say that's a 200-foot drilling job, and then that'll update the amount. Another thing that it adds, you can attach files to that PDF. So right now I have the sample terms and conditions agreement,
Yeah.
but it's also tied to the template, so you can have various templates depending on what kind of estimate it is. And it stitches it to the end of the estimate PDF, creating just a single PDF that makes it easier to email to the customer.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and save this, and yes, I'll update the site owner.
Working off templates is so awesome. I think, you know, in my job experience, I've had jobs where I have to do the same thing manually over and over before. It just drives you crazy. It's the worst. You know, I'm gonna hit the same buttons 12 times in a row all day, every day. Being able to just boom, load up a template, that's really, really awesome.
So so from here we can print that, which gives us the PDF,
Uh-huh.
so you can see how it looks. So here's the template. You got your logo in the middle, information that it isn't fully filled out, but you can imagine how that would look.
Yeah.
Then you got your line items. So there's our headings, there's our individual things, and then here's our optional.
Okay.
So as you see, it doesn't show up in the cost column, so it doesn't add to the total, but the customer knows, excuse me, what that cost will be if it's needed. And then if you scroll past the signature piece, then we have our attached additional documents. And there's no limit to the number of additional documents you want to attach on. You can do part warranty information, really anything you want.
Nice.
That's how the PDF looks. Now in this scenario, the customer calls back and says, "Yeah, that estimate looks great. Let's get to work." I'm actually going to head back to the list page. On the left screen, the menu is just a list of lists. So if you go into estimates, you can see everything, every estimate that's in the system, organized by newest at the top. So I can just easily go back to that one I was working on if you had left the page and you want to come back to it quickly. So from here, we can convert this into a work order. If I click that.
So that would be the customers accepted the estimate and now we're transitioning into the fulfillment side.
Yep. And each of the parts remember which work order section that they were converted into before. So you don't have to do so much of the manual drag and drop. But as you see, it's gonna create a drilling work order, an equipment install work order, and an abandonment work order.
Okay.
But all tied to the same page in different tabs. So the same or different crews go to the work order, and they can see what work was done on different sections of that job. So it's really 3 small jobs make up one big job.
One project, yeah.
Project, yeah.
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 And if you want, you can turn on more. So let's say that we're going to include a water test, but maybe we don't have any line item for that thing. So we can check that box, and then it'll create another tab for a water test.
Okay.
So I'm going to convert that into a work order.
Can I say something right here while you're doing that?
Yeah.
A lot of times, what's nice about this program is, believe it or not, your employees are better salesmen or better people talking face to face with the customer than sometimes the owner, whatever. And they'll mention, just like you said, a water test. They'll look at the customer, "Hey, we tested your water when we're done." "No, I was gonna do it myself." And they're looking at them. And a lot of times, if you don't know what a water test, they're pretty intense. They can be. Got to be. Don't set the lid down, all that.
Yeah.
And the customer say, "Well, go ahead. You guys do it." So right from the job site, your employee can do this right on the work order.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even if work order is already created, if you edit the work order, you can
Okay.
manage the
Right.
section and then turn on and off
Oh, yeah.
various pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's another thing that's so, so impressive about this program is we just went from somebody called us to where we've got the work order, just in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody watching this is going to look at this and go, oh my gosh, this is overly complicated. It's pretty simple, you play with it for a couple minutes. You've got 30 days with the demo to play around with it. And I don't think we've ever had anybody in that time go, I wasn't able to learn this. It's very simple. It's very streamlined. And it's
I will encourage anybody that's even thinking about get the demo,
Yeah,
run it, play with it, and you're gonna love it.
yeah.
One of the questions at Groundwater Week, in 2023 was the internet connectivity. A lot of these sites are rural sites. Can you tell us how the mobile connectivity works with the app?
Sure. As of right now, you do need an internet connection to use the program. However, we do have plans in place for an offline mode. So if you do have a situation where you're not going to have internet connection, you'd be able to download an offline version of a work order, fill it out, and then upload it once you're back in the office.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so if your cell reception is spotty, there's plans in place to make sure that that's not even a problem. But I think the majority of people these days live in areas where at least cell coverage, on a laptop or on a tablet is available in some form. And so you're able to access everything in here if you're in those zones. And if not, we've got plans to make sure that that you're still able to do what you need to do out in the field and have it update afterwards.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
So we've edited the work order. In the drilling tab, we can scroll down and then you can fill out all the information like borehole sizes, the geology, the water zones. So this is what they would be filling out while doing the drilling, right from their phone or tablet. And then once it's saved, it saves it to the site record, and it's there forever. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then I'm gonna put it on the schedule. So from here I can so this drilling work order section, I can choose who I want to be on that job. I can choose which equipment they're going to take. Let's say that I want them to take driller 2, and we can set the date. Let's say tomorrow at 8 a.m. and they're going to go till 11 a.m. 3-hour drill. Once you save that event, it'll populate here, so you can always come to the work order and see who's doing the job, but you can also head over to the schedule, and as a snapshot, you can see, so right now this is today, and I can hit the right arrow to see tomorrow, and there's the job.
Nice.
You also have week view and month view.
Great. Yeah. Real quick, buddy, how would you recommend a driller who's using the app as they're drilling, documenting their drilling progress? From a safety standpoint, you don't want a driller on their phone. So how would you envision, or how do you recommend someone using the app while they're...
So that's a given. And the reason is because I'm the only driller that's on the call right now. You have to keep track of your stuff anyways. So normally a drill operator will get to a point in his drilling operation, he'll stop the drill or have the helper be on the stand teaching him how to drill, step off the stand, and right now, or I should say right now, before you would hand write, hey, we went through clay from 26 feet to 104. So he'll step off, he just checked his formation. Okay, got it. He'll make a note. Okay, now I have to take that note, transfer it digitally, or bring it back to the office. With this, instead of making a note, you flip over the iPad, clay, 26, 104, shut it, set it down, back to the operation.
Yeah.
So he's taking notes anyways. So the only difference is you are putting them on a pad versus writing them on a piece of paper.
Got it. Yeah.
Or a sheet or whatever type of mechanism that the company might have in place for the driller to keep track of what he's doing. Because as a lot of people tell you, you don't want to fill the well log out back at the office from here.
Right.
Depending on the device too, I think most of the little text boxes where you would type stuff in, a lot of them have a microphone feature too, where you can just speak what you're trying to type.
Correct.
So
Right.
there's a lot of good stuff in that regards.
Yeah. Good point. Okay.
Okay, so back to it. So from, so we can go back to the work order. And then from here, if that job is done and we want to invoice it, you just simply click the invoice button and then you just choose what section you want to invoice. You can invoice partially or the whole job. If you had marked those jobs as complete, they automatically get checked here when you go to the conversion into the invoice. So let's go ahead and convert it all. And then, yeah, we'll just mark them as complete. So if you didn't mark them as complete before, you can do it from here. And then this is creating an invoice in QuickBooks. And then just displaying the information here. So here's all the line items we had in that quote. We got all the information. You can throw in a memo. You can attach additional files to the invoice. And you can send it off. If I had an email address filled out here, I could send it. You can print it to see how it looks, or you can even take the payment. So if the customer, if the field tech is out and they have the invoice open on their phone, they can just take the payment from here. If they're giving cash or check. For credit card, they can also save it here. It creates a record in QuickBooks that they paid via credit card. But what happens is that when you send an email to the customer, they have a pay button right from their email, so they can pay themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So as a technician, I can say, yep, they paid with credit card, and I'm just going to mark that as a payment. And then now this invoice is showing as a paid. There it goes, and it shows which user collected that payment. So if you want to keep track, hey, we showed that you collected a check. Where's that check? And that's the whole process flow from beginning of the job all the way to the end of the invoicing. So now we can start drilling into some of the weeds and the features we added since we first launched.
Stephen,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, I'm the driller and I'm on this job, and I want to look up a well record because something's not jiving here. So
Okay.
how do I do that?
Sure.
Show how I do that.
Yeah, so on every record, there's going to be a customer and a site, so you can access it from either one. If you want to look up the well information, you can just click this button to the right side of that, and that'll just open a new tab right to that entry. So here's that well. You can see the construction and geology had it been filled out. You can
Right, because we haven't drilled it yet. Right.
yeah, permit information, service log. So here's all the service logs, and you can see it's had various owners of that location. You can also upload files
And
directly
sold that
to it.
house a lot.
And then if there's any abandonment information, it's all here tied to the site.
I'm sure that parts of this are more impressive than this, but having a little map icon that attaches to Google to me is awesome.
Yeah, if you fill out the correct latitude and longitude, oh, one went too high. 90 is the limit, right? 24 negative 80. I think that should give us something. Nope, Hudson Bay.
The Caribbean Sea, wow.
Yeah.
Drilling a
Caribbean
well under.
I don't have all the latitude and longitude numbers.
Do 42. Do 42.
42.
Yep, 42.25861 or something.
61.
And then minus 84.
84.
Point 33845.
338.
I'll take you someplace in Michigan or Indiana.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, that's right near me. That's I live in Jackson.
Yep,
And
so there you go.
It's so funny, actually. I used to play in a blues band at that sports bar. Small world.
Also, if you want to see it in comparison to the other sites that you've drilled, you can click this view on site map. And so it takes you straight to the location, so you can see around it. But if you scroll out, there's not a whole lot of sites added to this test company, but you can see we've got other sites. So here's this one way over here.
Oh, wow.
And you can set a drilling difficulty on these. So this will help for the estimation part. So if you say that it was easy, it'll show up as green. If you don't have it set, it'll be blue. Black is the location of whatever office you have set in QuickBooks, and then red indicates a difficult drilling job. So you can pad that quote accordingly.
Okay.
If you know it's going to be a lot of bedrock to go through, for example. So yeah, this is the site map. Another cool thing we added since then is in the items. So this is also loading from QuickBooks. We're just displaying it here. You can also toggle the view. So if you have your items categorized well, you can drill down and find them this way. But let's just hop into let's say this one. And then so we added a cost history. So every time the price changes, or whatever price you have, or even the market percentage, change of vendor, anything you do with the cost part, it'll save. So let's say they've raised the price of this pump, and it's now $1,300. But we have a 10% markup set. So we click off of the field, it automatically updates the sales price. So if you have this part in a template, for example, once you load the new template, it'll reflect the new sales price of that part. So once we save this record, we'll see that cost history is now updated. So we can see this is the new price, and we can see how much it used to cost. So this is important for some of our users that want to see year after year their costs. And
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I imagine it's really useful for tracking, your profit and knowing exactly where you are. It puts it all in one spot, which is super awesome.
And the nice thing is everybody does it a little bit different. So NGWA Business Pro has the ability for you to go in there, say you want to track it by profit margin, where you go back to QuickBooks, figure that out. You want to track it by how many wells you drilled. You want to track it by site. You could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually the next module we're rolling out is the reporting module. So it'll be a dedicated link on the menu here, and you can run reports.
What about state well logs? The ability to download state well logs into this?
Sure. You mean upload it to a site, or just generate it from here?
Oh, I think you're muted.
Generate it.
Sure. Yeah.
Eventually, it was my understanding that you'll be able to take and populate my system with other logs from other well drillers.
Yeah. So currently we don't have every state available, but as we get more users in the program, we'll add that state. So for example, what's the next one? I think Indiana is next. So they still have a paper system for the completion report. So here's an example of North Carolina, which we do have. So I'm gonna hit that completion report button. There's not gonna be a ton of data because we didn't fill anything out, but it'll still open up. So it generates this file. So it fills out the customer information there, the latitude, longitude that we filled out.
Indiana.
Sorry.
Indiana.
Oh, you have
India.
it right there. Yeah. Yeah. So it generates the well log from the work order. You can also go straight to the site and then generate it from there as well. So either location.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Another big thing we added that was a highly requested feature. So for customers, one of the drawbacks of QuickBooks Online is when you create a customer, but you want to add multiple contacts to that customer, it doesn't really facilitate that. So this is where we add with our database to extend the ability of QuickBooks. So I can go into a customer, and let's say they have multiple people that we want to contact. So you can just add more contacts, and there's no limit. You can add as many as you want. So you want to add their purchasing manager or whoever, if it's a company, you can do this for customers as well as vendors.
Wow.
That's a nice feature because a lot of guys that do municipal work or that do commercial work, you might have one company with 7 locations and
Yeah.
8 guys that you have to, or women that you have to contact. And within that, then there's also, you know, the supervisor department, the purchasing department, and it goes
Yeah.
on and on.
Right.
I've got to talk to project management, and then I've got to talk, coordinate with the job leader, and then at the end of the day, I have to talk to purchasing to make sure that all the beans are counted.
Can you share too now, Stephen, one of the equipment tracking that
Yeah,
you've
so-
added?
Yeah, there's 2 kinds of equipment. There's one which is your basic equipment, like your trucks and whatever tools you want to be able to assign to a job. But the main one that's important for especially for the customer is when you're installing parts onto a site like a water heater or something like that. You've got this installed equipment section down here. So you can take a part from one of the line items and we can say we're definitely installing this Franklin electric pump and we have to track a serial number. So you can add it and then now it adds it to the installed equipment. You can also manually add them from your inventory list here.
Can you
But
make
now
a
you
new
can-
one from there too?
if you're adding a whole new part, you can just load up you can just add a part right on the fly
Yeah,
if it's not already in your system.
that's awesome.
So yeah, the important thing is now you can put in the serial number, and when the customer calls or whoever is currently owning the site, all you gotta do is go to the site, check the installed equipment, and then you could look up that serial number and see if a warranty is still valid, anything of that nature.
Great. Okay. All
I
right.
like it.
Yeah.
And then now that we're back to the work order, we can see that that's complete and invoiced, but we didn't do anything with the water test. So if you go to the water test, you can see that the status is still new and it's not been invoiced.
Hmm.
So it'll still show up in the work orders as black or new, and green represents completed work orders. Once everything turns green, it disappears from this list, but you can always check any old jobs by checking the show inactive. So this is every job that's ever been inputted into the system.
Hmm. It looks like you can search as well too.
Yeah, you can search, and you can search by more than just what you see here. If you just punch in a phone number, if it matches the customer, then the customer will appear. We've built a search algorithm for these list pages, so you can find things with accuracy depending on what the data is.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice feature there.
Yeah. To see is to believe, and being able to play around with it and match that up to the current way that you operate. It's just,
Right. I'm even thinking of the individual or the company out there that's not digital at all.
yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
that's still doing paper everything. Imagine jumping into this.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's a
actually
world
jealous because I've went through a whole bunch of learning curves, you know.
Yeah, it feels like all those previous steps were unnecessary at this point, but this didn't
Well,
exist yet. And now if
we've-
somebody's starting into the industry, or if if they're starting to see an increase in business, they don't have to go through those same learning curves that you did when you
Well,
were trying out a bunch of
exactly. I mean, I would have 15 tabs on the top of my, browser with different things that I'm working on to be able to complete the day's work,
Yeah,
you know. Jump into this one, go into this one. Oh, now I gotta go back here. Oh, I gotta go to the map. Oh, wait a minute, I gotta go look at the state website. Okay, now let's go back to the quote. And then, I gotta scan it, email it,
yeah. Yeah, and I don't know what the statistics on it are, but I know we've all experienced the tab switching nightmare. I can focus on so many things at a given point. If I have to switch tabs, it's like my brain reboots for 5 seconds while I'm switching tabs to look for a different thing. And sometimes I get stuck in that loop of going back and forth between stuff and looking up and down, and you can make your work life as complicated and as
Right.
as distracting as you want to. Having a tool that makes it very easy to hone in and get stuff done that's another value that's added to having a nice organized system that you achieve with Business Pro. And we have a great way to onboard you. Once you like the demo, we have a great way to bring you through that transition and to get you support and training and to show you how you're going to use it, to migrate your data. We try to make it as easy as possible, and I think the results speak for themselves. The people that we talk to after they've transitioned, they're so happy with the software and what their new capability is and what it allows them to do, and the focus that it can bring to their company. And it's just, there's a lot of clarity. The stress of a poorly managed system goes away, and it just, there's a reason they call it Pro. Is because it is a step up in the way that you operate your administration and the way that you are able to track on site. And it's very, very cool stuff. And for me, it's Steven talked to me a while ago when he first showed me the software. I think you had just pretty much sent me a link and said, play around with it. And I logged in, and it's easy enough that even a Neanderthal like me can log in, and with some basic smartphone technology capability, figure out, okay, you go here to do this, you go here to do that. This is pretty simple and pretty easy. And
the app resembles exactly how the desktop version you were going off of today, Stephen. Correct. It mirrors the app on a smart device, looks the same as what you were just showing us.
Yeah, it is the same. It's just formatted differently depending on what you load it up with.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think our reminder, our closing out portion is we wanted to remind people about Groundwater Week.
Yep.
That's December. Is that correct?
December 10th through the 12th in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. Yep.
Yeah, and we're at booth 2. So we'll see people there. I think to start your trial for the demo, which we encourage everybody to do. It's easy to get signed up. You go to ngwabusinesspro.com. I believe there's a button.
Yes.
Yes.
Once you fill out the form on the homepage, then you're in the loop.
Fill out a form, you get an invite, you can try it out, you can see how easy it is. There's support to help you if you have questions while you're going through the demo. We're happy to answer questions and help out any way we can. And I think everybody who tries it is gonna see the value in what it provides, to having a tailor-built tool to help organize the business and make things easier, and grant that peace of mind that we have a solution. We don't have to worry about acts of God interfering. We can make work easier for our employees. We can make the headaches of business administration less prominent. There's so many different benefits to it, and we try to do that with as minimal upset and change as possible to your daily workflow so far as the transition process goes. So try out the demo.
Yep.
Come see us in Vegas.
Yep. Thank you, guys. That's great. Thank you for your time and all your efforts in making Business Pro what it is today and what it will be in the future, and for your time on this podcast. Thanks for watching and listening to the WWJ Industry Connected podcast. We'll be back next month with a brand new episode, so be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the major platforms, so it will be easy to find us. Visit waterwelljournal.com for the latest expert columns, feature articles, videos, and news covering the groundwater industry. So one more time for Buddy, Steven, and Mars, thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.